Is the Godox iT32 enough for wedding photography? That is the question I had when I bought this little flash. Because on paper it looks very interesting. It's small, it's light, it has a touch screen, it charges via USB-C, it also has magnetic CDO filters and a small LED light. And the most interesting part is that the flash can detach from the trigger with a magnetic system again. So it's not just a small flash. It's a small flash, it's a backup flash, it's potentially also an off-camera flash system. But for wedding photography, the real question is different. Can this actually work during a real wedding day? Or is it just a cool little gadget? Hi, I'm Stefano. I'm a wedding photographer and filmmaker working between Southern California and Italy. And in this video, I want to look at the Godox iT32 from a wedding photographer's point of view. Not as a studio flash, not as a casual travel flash, but as a real tool inside of a wedding kit. I will compare it to the Godox iT30 Pro, the Godox V350 and the Godox V480. And I also did a power test because size is nice, but power still matters. So let's start from the most important point. The Godox iT32 is not a replacement for a bigger flash like the V480, the V1, V100 or even the AD200. At least not for every situation. If you're shooting outdoors during the day, if you need to overpower the sun, or if you're working with a very large reception room, a bigger flash still gives you more safety. Even the Godox V480 is already close to the limit in some daytime situation. So the iT32 is not a flash I would choose if I wanted zero compromises. But wedding photography is not only about maximum power. It is also about speed, weight, reaction time, backup options, and having gear that actually work and then you can carry all day or for destination weddings matter. And this is where the iT32 becomes interesting. I did a simple power comparison between these four flashes, and the Godox V480 was my reference at 1/8 of a power. Compared to the V480, as you can see, the Godox V350 was about 0.4 stops less powerful. The Godox iT32 was about 1.3 stops less powerful, and the Godox iT30 Pro was about 1.75 stops less powerful. So yes, the iT32 is clearly less powerful than the V480, but it's also a bit stronger than the iT30 Pro. I believe the guide number of this is 18 versus 15 of this one. And for me that makes a little bit of difference, because the iT30 Pro it's very small, useful, but it feels more like an emergency flash or a tiny flash for the dance floor, using it direct paired with maybe a wide angle prime lens. Whether the iT32 feels more like a serious small flash, still limited but more usable. What does that 1.3 stops less power compared to the V480 in real wedding work? It means for sure that you cannot expect the same performance of the bigger brother here. But it does not mean that this flash is useless, because even with the V480, I rarely shoot at full power during the wedding. Most of the time, I'm not trying to light a huge space from far away. I'm generally more close to the couple, or I'm close to the guests, or I'm using it bounce off of a wall, or I'm just adding just enough light to shape the moment. So yes, I think that the iT32 gives me less margin, but if I use it in the right situation, that margin may still be good enough. From sunset onward, for reception candidates, people dancing, close range flash work, small group photos at night, or quick moments where you are close to the subject, the iT32 should be more than enough. I already used this little brother, the iT30, during real receptions. For close range photos, I was often around 1/8 or 1/16 of the power. That was during dancing, candid moments and fewer event group photos. So I think that the iT32 being a little bit stronger, I expect it to handle those situations even more comfortably. Of course, I still need to test it more during full wedding days and in multiple weddings. But based on power test and based on how I already used the iT30, I can see the iT32 being very useful from sunset onwards. Could it work during the day? I think yes, but of course with many compromises. If you use it very close to your subject, for example, if you're not trying to overpower the sun, if you're using higher ISO at night, wider aperture, or if you're using it only as a fill light, well, I think it can work very well. It also works for bounce flash indoors, if your ceiling maybe are not too high, or not too dark, or not too far away. But this is where you need to understand the limit of flashes. With the V480, you have for sure more room. With the iT32, you need to be more intentional for sure. Meaning closer distance, better angles, cleaner surfaces to bounce it off of, and less waste of light. If you know how to manage those limits, this I think can do a lot. But if you expect it to behave like a bigger flash, I think you will be disappointed. Now, let's compare it to the V350. I've used this so much during the past years, and I think it's still a very solid option. And I want to be very clear here. Power-wise, the V350 is still very interesting. It's closer to the V480, and in my test it was only, let's say, 1/3 of a stop less powerful than the V480. So for such a small flash, I think that's very good. Honestly, I think the V350 is one of the best small flashes or backup flashes in the Godox lineup still nowadays. If what you need is a simple compact with good power for its size, then the V350 still holds its place very well, even today. But compared to newer flashes, it does feel more outdated. I just wish Godox had updated it with some newer feature we can see on the newer lineup like iT32 and V480. USB charging, a small LED light, a better screen, magnetic gels, and maybe even some kind of modular design. So V350 does not have the touchscreen of the iT32, does not have the magnetic gels that you can attach, and it doesn't have a small LED light. Of course, it cannot detach from the trigger like this one does. So for me, the V350 is still better if only you look at power. But the iT32 is more interesting if you look at the whole kit. Because at wedding, I do not only think about power. I think about how fast can I move, how easy is it to carry it with you, how many problems one single small tool can solve, and how often I'm actually gonna bring it with me even when I fly for destination weddings. So the V350 is still a very good small flash, but the iT32 feels more like a modern, more flexible and easier to integrate with lightweight and wedding setups. So that is why for me, the way I work, the iT32 may replace the V350 in my gear setup, but not because it's more powerful or powerful enough. It is not, but because it gives me more flexibility in a smaller and more modern package. Still, if you're already on a V350 and you only need a simple compact flash, I would not say it's outdated or useless. It still makes a lot of sense. I just think the iT32 opens more possibilities. Now let's talk about the little brother, the iT30 Pro. I still like the iT30 Pro. It's extremely small, and for me it has a very important role. It is my third backup. It is also my trigger backup. I see it as a tiny safety tool basically. If I need a small flash, it is there. If I need a backup for my trigger, it still can help. But if I had to choose one small flash for actual wedding use, I would choose the iT32 over the iT30 Pro. The iT30 Pro is the smallest option, whether the iT32 is more useful with more options. Now, what would I recommend to a wedding photographer? If you want the maximum range with fewer compromises, I think the best two flashes setup would probably be something like the Godox V100 for daytime power and the Godox iT32 for evening, travel, backup or lightweight work. That combination gives you the power when you need power and portability when you need speed. For me personally, I prefer a smaller and lighter kit, so that's why I chose the V480 instead of V1 or V100. And because I'm used to managing technical limits and I'm comfortable with something like the Godox V480 plus the iT32, the 480 is my main flash, and the iT32 is a small backup, even in flash, travel flash, flexible second option, and that combination makes more sense for the way I shoot. It is not the more powerful kit possible, but it gives me a very good balance between power, weight and flexibility. So in the end, the Godox iT32 is enough for wedding photography or no? Well, my answer is yes, but not as your main flash. Not if you want to cover every situation with confidence. Not if you want a flash that can replace a bigger unit during the day especially. But as a second flash, as a backup, travel, reception flash or lightweight evening flash, I think it makes a lot of sense. The real value of the iT32 is not that it replaces a bigger flash. The real value is that it gives you more options without adding too much weight and especially at a very fair price. And for weddings that matters, because sometimes the best gear is not the biggest gear. It's the gear that helps you move faster, stay ready and solve problems without slowing you down during the day. I will keep testing it during real weddings, especially for receptions, bounce flash and quick off-camera setups. And if you're interested in the Godox iT32, I will leave an Amazon link in the description down below. It's an affiliate link, so if you buy through that link, I may receive a small commission at no extra cost for you. And if you found this review useful, using the link or subscribing to the channel is a simple way to support the work I put into this real wedding gear test. Ciao e a presto!